I'd like to share a story that powerfully illustrates how God was present in a young mother's deeply challenging perinatal journey. This is the story of Jasmyne, one of our patients. While it's far from typical, it reflects every mother's unique circumstances when she comes to the Luke Clinic. Each woman, their needs are different, and our mission is to meet them where they are and support them on that journey. Jasmyne confirmed her pregnancy at the Lennon Center, one of our ministry partners, and was excited to welcome her baby. But tragically, against her will, she was forced into taking the medical abortion pills by her partner. Desperate to save her baby, she learned about the abortion pill reversal and found Dr. Kathy Stark, who offered this treatment in Detroit. Although outside the window of usual effectiveness, Jasmyne received the reversal treatment, and miraculously, her baby Katori survived. All of this unfolded before Jasmyne became a patient at the Luke Clinic. Her journey is a testament to God's plan and how He was involved at every stage, placing people in her life to support and encourage her on this incredibly difficult journey.
I saw God manifest in so many ways throughout this journey, from the very beginning until is continuing even today. From the very moment I found out I was pregnant through what I would call a sign from God, I actually asked God to send me a ladybug, and the entire window was covered with ladybugs the morning when I woke up. I went to the Lennon Center and found out about my pregnancy, which is actually where I got the resources for the Luke Clinic, and found out that my baby was perfectly healthy and everything was great. After I first called the Luke Clinic, I felt so supported, and I had felt lost before calling them. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what my next steps were. And my first call gave me a sense of hope. And this actually was so scary for me because the stigma around getting free care is so borderline scary, because nobody really knows how you're going to be viewed, how they're going to treat you. And whenever I called the Luke Clinic, all that fear went away. They treated me like I was family. They reassured me that I was cared for, that I was cared about, and that my daughter was cared about too, not just me. Even though I was high risk, I had a beautiful pregnancy, and the Luke Clinic made sure that even though things seemed to be going wonderful, to meticulously monitor me and make sure that everything was going well. And every time that I was there, I always had an ultrasound. Baby was always checked perfectly and thoroughly. So at 27 weeks on my birthday, I had stopped feeling Katori move and rushed to the hospital, where I had found out that she had suddenly passed away. And at the time in the hospital, they didn't know anything other than that her heart had stopped. After I found out that my daughter transitioned to be with God at 27 weeks, I felt lost and I felt afraid, I felt alone, and I didn't know what was coming next. I did know, however, that I would still have to have this baby who was no longer alive. And that's probably the scariest thing. And being here really by myself, I didn't know where I was gonna go next from that. So the first thing that I did was called a doula from the Luke Clinic, and her name is actually Amber. And she came as fast as possible to come be with me. So I had Katori's funeral at the Church of Family of God with Pastor Tyler, and he was able to make sure that everything was the way that I wanted it to be. And not only that, they didn't charge me anything. They did it out of the kindness of their heart and love for me and Katori. And they chose to be able to take time out of their day, and everybody of the Luke Clinic was able to be there that day as well. And it made me feel so loved, and it made me feel like Katori's life was so important, that she mattered to so many people.
That was one of the greatest joys of my life, was being able to just to be with her and to pour into her, and to, again, a woman who's looking for answers, but is really just crying out, God, 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 and to remind her that God is hearing you. even if your prayers are just very simple, even if your prayers are not elegant, wordy prayers, they're just simple cries out. He hears that, and he promises to be with you in your suffering. And so we were able to be with her in that moment. I was texting back and forth with her afterward. She was sharing with me all of these songs that made her think of her daughter, all of these verses that made her think of her daughter. And then we actually had a service for her daughter, and I think she really needed that. It was a small service of just us and a couple of the other Luke Clinic staff. For Jasmyne to really be seen and to be heard by the women and me and Deacon John who cared for her in those moments, I think that was a real game changer for her, because she did know she lived so much of her life feeling like she was alone. And in that moment, in one of the greatest traumas that she will ever experience, she was not alone. And so to have a sense of closure in that, and to know that grief is not going to stop, but to know that it's okay to grieve, and that it's okay to have bad days, it's okay to have good days, it's okay to have days where all you think about is your child, and then there's days where maybe you don't think about her as much. But the Luke Clinic was able to provide that safety, to provide that community for her, and to really let her know that we're suffering with you.
I would like other people to know that the Luke Clinic is your family, that they're not just there to give you medical care, that the Luke Clinic is there whenever you need them, for whatever you need them, for however long that you need them for, that they love your children and they love you, and that God will put people in position to walk with you no matter what path you're walking on, no matter how scary it looks, no matter how dark it looks, that there's always somebody there, and that God will make sure that somebody can hold your hand, that God will make sure that you have the best care possible. And I know that there's a lot of stigma around free clinics, and that, oh, do these people really care about me? At the Luke Clinic, they love you and they love your kids, and they love to see everybody have a better life and just be healthier in general. Looking back now, this care has completely changed my perspective, because not only the situation that I've gone through with my daughter's tragic passing, but seeing that people care. That's all that it's really the end of the sentence, is that people care. With my first child, I had experienced terrible prenatal care where I did not feel human even. And in this instance, they showed me that even if your baby doesn't happen to make it, that you're still a mother, that you still matter, that your baby still matters, and that everything that comes along the road of motherhood, they're prepared for, and they're prepared to help you be able to work through that as well.